Did you know that some foods can make you age faster than smoking? And that over 131 million Americans consume them every single day without even realizing the cost? Even worse, your body doesn't scream. It whispers until one day you wake up and barely recognize the person in the mirror. But here's a strange truth from Okinawa, Japan, home to the longest living women on earth. They believe food isn't just fuel, it's a prayer. They bless every meal with silence. They eat in colors. They eat in peace. And somehow, they stay strong, radiant, and joyful well into their 90s. No pills, no fancy diets, just a sacred way of eating. So what if aging gracefully isn't about expensive creams or surgeries, but about what you eat, how, and why you eat? In this video, we're diving deep into 5 healing foods that don't just slow aging, but heal your skin, brain, and spirit through Buddhist wisdom, science, and real-life simplicity. These are not trends. These are timeless truths that the West forgot, but your body still remembers. If you've ever felt like aging is happening too fast and wondered if it's reversible, you're exactly where you need to be. Let's begin the journey toward food that nourishes your soul and brings your body back to life. 1. The rainbow on your plate, nature's gift to your cells. Have you ever walked through a farmer's market and felt strangely joyful just by looking at all the colors? That wasn't just your eyes enjoying the view. It was your body remembering something ancient. There's a quiet teaching in Zen Buddhism that says, all that is natural is already sacred. When we eat from the earth in its most colorful, vibrant form, we are not just nourishing the body, but honoring its connection to life itself. Bright fruits and vegetables, berries, oranges, peppers, plums, are more than food. They are the sun, captured in physical form. Every shade of red, violet, or gold carries within it a code of healing, a language your cells remember, even if your mind has forgotten. I still remember my grandmother. At age 85, her skin was soft like aged silk, but glowing. She never used skincare products, but every morning she would make a bowl of warm rice with mango, purple sweet potato, and banana. Eat the colors, she would whisper. They make your blood smile. Back then I just laughed. But now I understand. Inside these colors are compounds, living energies, that do quiet miracles. They protect your DNA. They keep inflammation low. They restore elasticity in your skin, help you sleep better, and even sharpen your memory. Not because they're magic, but because they're natural. But here's the twist. Most people think they eat healthy just because they include a lettuce leaf or a tomato in their burger. That's not the rainbow. That's barely a drizzle of color in a beige storm. The real rainbow is in variety, a mix, a harmony of plant life, grown from soil, kissed by the sun. The more diverse the colors on your plate, the more complete your healing. It's like painting a picture inside your body. Each hue touches a different organ. Each pigment feeds a different part of you. There's something else too. When you eat colorful food, you feel more alive. Not just physically, but emotionally, because these foods are light-filled. They carry energy that shifts your vibration. You've probably noticed this already. How eating a bowl of strawberries in the morning feels different than eating a processed muffin, even if the calorie count is similar. That's not just digestion, that's alignment. Sometimes we crave dull foods when we're emotionally dull. Beige bread, greasy brown, pale white sugar. It's a reflection of our own dimmed inner flame. But when we start choosing brightness on purpose, something opens. A window, a doorway. It's as if the body says, thank you. You remember me now. And I get it. Some people say, but healthy food is boring. Really? Have you seen a passion fruit lately? That alien yellow skin, the wild jelly seeds inside, the zingy burst in your mouth? It's not boring. It's poetry with flavor. I used to skip fruits. Too busy, too lazy, too caught up in habits. But then I started a little morning ritual, adding just a handful of berries to my oatmeal. Nothing fancy, but day by day I noticed something strange. I smiled more. My energy was more gentle. My skin, softer. Coincidence? Maybe, but it felt like the truth. In Zen, we say, when the heart is peaceful, the taste becomes clear. So here's a thought. Don't just eat for your body, eat for your peace. Eat for the person you want to become 10 years from now. You don't need to overhaul your diet overnight. Just start with one color per meal, a red pepper with your sandwich, a few blueberries before your tea, a handful of grapes during your walk. Small changes repeated with love are how healing begins. Not in loud declarations, but in quiet colors. And if you're still on the fence, here's a gentle nudge. What if this small shift could add 5 more vibrant years to your life? Years where you feel light, sharp, connected? Would it be worth a trip to the produce aisle? Because every time you eat something living, something in you lives a little more. Now, while colors speak to your skin and spirit, there's something deeper that your mind is quietly begging for. And that nourishment doesn't come in a rainbow. It comes in healthy fats. Let's talk about the sacred oils that your brain has been waiting for. 2. The sacred fat. Why your brain craves omega-3s. We often fear fat like it's the enemy. But what if the very thing you've been avoiding is exactly what your brain has been silently begging for? In the Zen monasteries of rural Korea and Japan, there is a quiet reverence for simplicity. Meals are prepared with care, not extravagance. But there's always something present, some trace of healthy oils, whether from sesame, sea plants, or nuts. Not because they're trendy, but because they sustain presence. Without enough healthy fat, the mind grows restless. The breath shortens. The spirit flickers like a candle in the wind. What we call omega-3s in the modern world, monks have understood through intuition and embodiment. These sacred fats don't just feed the brain, they soften the mind. And a softened mind is not weak. It's aware. It's spacious. When we think of aging, we often look outward at the wrinkles, the posture, the energy. But one of the first places time touches is your brain. You start forgetting why you entered a room. You tell a story twice. You lose focus halfway through a sentence and feel slightly embarrassed, even though no one says anything. That slow dimming, it's not just age. It's often inflammation. And healthy fats, believe it or not, are your most loyal guardian against that hidden fire. There was a period in my life, a few years ago, when my thoughts started to feel foggy, not depressed, not anxious, just dim, like someone had pulled a sheer curtain over my clarity. I was doing all the right things, meditating, walking, journaling, but still something was off. Until a close friend, a meditation teacher in his 70s, handed me a small tin of anchovies and said, smiling, "Try these before judging." I laughed. Anchovies? That's your secret to longevity? But I tried, and slowly I noticed that my mornings were sharper. Words came back faster. The inner stillness I had to force before now arrived on its own. That was the moment I began to see fat not as an indulgence, but as fuel for presence. And it's not just fish. Walnuts, flax seeds, chia, even seaweed. These are all rich and nourishing oils that your brain drinks like morning dew. But the key isn't just what you eat. It's whether you allow it to become part of your ritual, your rhythm. Food, like meditation, works only when practiced regularly, not as a fix, but as a devotion. Here's the twist most people miss. We think the mind is in control of the body, but when the body's inflamed, it starts controlling the mind. You get irritable for no reason, sad over nothing. You forget birthdays, not because you're careless, but because your brain is inflamed and starved. And yet, with a few spoonfuls of the right fat daily, that story can begin to shift. I often say this to people I care about. Feed your brain before you feed your calendar. Meaning, before you dive into tasks and to-do lists, ask yourself if you've nourished your ability to stay clear. Because mental clarity isn't just a gift, it's a choice repeated in tiny meals. Let's also be honest. Many of us grew up in a low-fat culture. We were told fat is the enemy. Butter bad, oil scary, fishy, things weird. But guess what? The Mediterranean villagers dancing at 85 years old? The Buddhist nuns who smile with eyes like still lakes at age 90? They all eat fat, the right fat. And here's the fun part. Eating fat doesn't have to be boring or clinical. I love making a warm bowl of roasted vegetables tossed in olive oil, topped with a spoonful of tahini and some lemon zest. Add some crushed walnuts, maybe a few olives, and suddenly you're not just eating, you're celebrating life. In Zen, we believe that a sharp mind rests in a soft body. So if your mind feels dull, maybe it's time to soften, to nourish, to stop fearing fat, and start trusting your body's ancient wisdom again. And yes, if you're wondering, it's okay to take a high-quality omega-3 supplement, especially if you don't like seafood. It's not cheating, it's choosing awareness. Because at the end of the day, your brain isn't aging because of time. It's aging because of what you're missing. And every day you delay is a day that clarity slips further away. But what happens when you feed your brain, yet poison your skin? That's what sugar does, quietly and relentlessly. In the next part, we'll explore how sweet foods can silently fold your face and how to stop it before it's too late. 3. Sugar, the sweet poison that folds your face. What if the very thing that comforts you is the thing that's quietly collapsing your skin from the inside out? In Zen teachings, there's a phrase, "What brings pleasure too quickly often carries the seed of sorrow." Sugar is the perfect example. It arrives like a friend, sweet, soft, reliable. It lights up the brain with joy. It gives you a quick hug when you're tired, bored, or lonely. But what most of us don't realize is that sugar doesn't stay a friend for long. Slowly, almost invisibly, it becomes something else. A thief in the night, stealing your skin's firmness, your energy's clarity, and your body's balance. Let's be honest, sugar feels good. It's why we crave it when we're overwhelmed. Why do breakups come with chocolate? Why stress leads to ice cream? But emotional eating isn't just about hunger, it's about absence. An absence of peace, an absence of connection. When life feels uncertain, sugar gives a moment of control. A sense of, I deserve this. And yet, what we're feeding is not our body, but our ache. And here's the twist. Sugar doesn't just spike your energy, it speeds up your aging. Every time your blood is flooded with added sugars, your body begins a subtle chemical reaction that hardens proteins like collagen and elastin. These are the very scaffolds that keep your skin plump and smooth. When they stiffen, your face begins to fold. Not tomorrow, but slowly, irreversibly over time. It's like drying a flower, beautiful at first, but shrinking with each sunrise. I used to drink juice every morning, believing I was making a healthy choice. One day I looked at the label, 24 grams of sugar, no fiber, and a vague promise of vitamin C. That was the day I realized I wasn't drinking fruit. I was drinking illusion. In Buddhist psychology, we talk about trishna, the thirst, the craving that arises when the mind is disconnected from the present. Sugar feeds that craving, not the body. It becomes a loop: discomfort, sugar, relief, crash, more discomfort. The problem isn't just in the food, it's in the energy we attach to it. And it's not only in candy and soda. Sugar hides in sauces, breads, cereals, and even so-called health bars. We eat it not just with our mouths, but with our unconscious. It becomes a ritual of numbing, a form of silent suffering. But what if we replace that ritual with a new one based on awareness, intention, and yes, sweetness, but the natural kind? I'm not here to say you must give up every cookie or piece of cake. I'm saying bring consciousness to the table. Choose fruits that still remind you of the tree, dark chocolate that still carries the weight of the cacao bean, dates, honey, cinnamon, Earth's original sweeteners, unprocessed, unapologetic. Here's something beautiful. The less sugar you eat, the sweeter real food becomes. A simple mango tastes like dessert. A roasted carrot can make you smile. When your taste buds aren't flooded, they become awaken. You begin to taste life again, not just food, but joy. And your skin, it thanks you. It softens, it holds, it breathes. I've seen it happen in myself, in students, in elderly friends who swap soda for herbal tea and notice their under-eye bags fading like old regrets. There's also something deeper happening here. When you choose to let go of sugar, you're also practicing letting go of attachment. You're not just changing your diet, you're changing your self-worth. Because somewhere deep inside you're saying, I no longer need pain disguised as comfort. I choose nourishment disguised as kindness. That shift, however small, is powerful because energy flows where attention goes. If your energy is tied to foods that numb, you live a numb life. But if your attention turns toward foods that heal, your whole frequency rises. Your body, your mood, your relationships all begin to shift. One of my favorite Zen stories speaks of a monk who refused to eat anything that dulled the mind. When asked why, he smiled and said, "Because I don't want to die while I'm still alive." That's how I feel about sugar now. It doesn't kill quickly, but it makes you fade quietly. And remember, your future self is watching. 10 years from now, you'll either thank yourself for the food you chose today or wish you had. Either way, time doesn't stop, but you can soften how it touches you. But while sugar may quietly erode your skin, there's another substance, an ancient golden one, that does the exact opposite. It heals, soothes, and renews from the inside out. And you probably already have it in your kitchen. Let's explore the power of olive oil, liquid gold for the aging soul. 4. Liquid gold, olive oil and the art of inner softness. What if the secret to aging slowly was hiding in something you've been pouring into your pan without thinking? Something ancient, golden, and quietly alive. In Zen, we often say, softness is stronger than force. A flowing stream wears down mountains. A silent gaze quiets a restless room. And when it comes to healing the body from within, few things embody softness like extra virgin olive oil. To the untrained eye, it's just cooking fat. To the awakened eye, it's liquid gold, an ancient elixir of resilience. You see, olive oil doesn't just moisturize your salad, It nurtures the very highways of life inside you, your blood vessels, your brain, your skin. I still remember my first visit to the hills of Umbria, Italy. I stayed with a 76-year-old woman named Lucia who made her olive oil. Every morning she would swirl a dark green spoonful over warm bread and eat it with her eyes closed, as if tasting the sun. Her face was lined but radiant, not young but alive. There was a softness to her that words can't quite describe, like she had learned how not to resist life anymore. And perhaps that's what olive oil teaches us: softness without surrender, aging with grace, not fear. The richness of high-quality olive oil comes from polyphenols, natural plant compounds that calm inflammation and protect your body's delicate systems. When you use it consistently, it's like gently oiling an old creaky door. The hinges don't scream anymore. Things move with ease. Blood flows smoothly. Joints ache less. The brain fog lifts just a little faster. And there's something else, something we rarely talk about: softness of mind. In many ways, we age not just because our bodies weaken, but because our thoughts harden. We become rigid, suspicious, and reactive. Olive oil, when viewed not just as a food but as an energy, teaches flexibility. And that energy over time shifts how we show up in the world. Here's the twist most people miss. They think aging is a war, that they have to fight gravity, fight wrinkles, fight fatigue. But in Zen, we don't fight nature. We flow with it. The body isn't something to conquer, it's something to care for, like a beloved garden. When I started adding olive oil more intentionally into my meals, not just as garnish but as nourishment, I noticed something strange. My digestion eased, my skin calmed, but most of all, my mood felt lubricated. Less friction, less inner criticism. It was as if my cells were whispering, "Thank you for softening." Psychologically, healthy fats like those in olive oil help stabilize our mood. They coat our nerves. They calm the microstorms of stress that often erupt without warning. And that calmness, in turn, invites better decisions. When the mind isn't on fire, it becomes quiet enough to listen. And in the quiet, something miraculous happens. The energy you put into your body begins to ripple outward. When you consume what is gentle, you become more gentle. Your words soften. Your relationships ease. Your aging slows, not because you're chasing youth, but because you're no longer resisting time. In the framework of energy and attraction, olive oil holds a high frequency. It's born from sunlight, wind, patience, and pressure. Trees must grow for years before they bear fruit. The oil must be pressed with care. Nothing about it is rushed. So when you eat it, you're aligning with that vibration, one of endurance, balance, and deep-rooted strength. And let's not forget, it tastes amazing. A drizzle on roasted vegetables, a swirl in your soup, a spoonful over cooked grains. You can even take a tablespoon on its own in the morning. Lucia swore by it. "It oils your soul," she said. And after watching her dance to old love songs with a basket of laundry on her hip, I believed her. So if you've been afraid of fat, maybe it's time to shift the story. Maybe it's not about fear at all. Maybe it's about trust. Trusting that something can be both rich and healing. That softness can be power. That golden doesn't mean heavy, it means wise. But even the purest oil cannot save a body that is eaten in haste, worry, or distraction. In the final part of this journey, we'll explore how the way you eat may matter just as much as what you eat, and how mindful nourishment can truly slow down time. 5. Eating with awareness. How mindful nourishment slows time. What if the way you eat matters just as much as what you eat? And what if, in that forgotten silence between bites, you could slow time and maybe even reverse it? In Zen monasteries, meals are rituals. Before anyone touches the food, there's a moment of stillness. No words, no rush, just the bowl, the breath, and the present moment. The monks say, to eat without mindfulness is to eat emptiness. And in a way, that's what most of us are doing, filling ourselves with food, but starving ourselves of presence. Modern life has turned meals into multitasking. We eat in cars, at desks, with phones glowing beside our plates like impatient companions. We chew, swallow, scroll, and worry. And then we wonder why we feel bloated, restless, unsatisfied, even when we've had enough to eat. But the body doesn't just digest food, it digests attention, and when there's none, it holds on to tension, to weight, to aging. I once met an old Japanese farmer who ate so slowly, I thought he'd never finish his lunch. He told me, if you rush the rice, it will hide its sweetness from you. At first, I smiled politely, but then I tried it. One bite, one breath. And I realized I had forgotten how to eat, not just chew, but receive. When you eat mindfully, digestion improves, not just because your body is physically more relaxed, but because your nervous system isn't in fight or flight mode. Your gut, your hormones, your metabolism, they all respond to your presence. It's like they say, oh, you're here now? Great, we can do our job. There's a twist here. Most people chase anti-aging solutions by adding more. More supplements, more superfoods, more hacks. But the truth is, one of the most powerful healing shifts is subtraction. Less rushing, less distraction, less emotional eating. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Because when you're present, you become more intuitive. You notice what your body wants. Sometimes you realize you're not hungry at all. You're just lonely, bored, or tense. You might even laugh at yourself mid-bite and think, well, this is not what I needed. I just needed a hug or a moment to breathe. I've found that the simple act of sitting down without a screen, just me, my meal, and a few deep breaths, changes everything. It's like the meal becomes sacred, even if it's just toast and avocado. And funnily enough, I eat less, enjoy more, and feel lighter afterward. It's not magic, it's intimacy. Mindful eating also shifts your energy. When you eat with joy, gratitude, and calmness, you elevate your frequency. You signal to life, I'm worthy of care. I'm choosing to honor this body, this breath, this bite. And that signal ripples out. Your skin begins to reflect that softness. Your posture changes. Your aging slows. Not because you're trying to look younger, but because you've started being here again. I know it sounds poetic, but it's also practical. Here's a little trick I use when I forget. I imagine the food in front of me as medicine prepared by someone who loves me. Suddenly I slow down. I chew with reverence. I put the fork down. And sometimes I even say silently, thank you. Not just to the food, but to the moment. One funny thing I learned along the way. When you eat slower, people think you're more refined. True story. I was once at a dinner with friends, eating slowly just because I was tired. Someone whispered, "You eat like a monk." I smiled, if they only knew. Here's the truth I've come to believe. Aging isn't just about what breaks down, it's about what we rush past. And mindfulness brings us back to our senses, back to our body, back to the sacredness of each bite. So now let's take a gentle breath and come back to what matters. We've explored 5 sacred ways of eating, ways that go beyond nutrition. We talked about the rainbow of fruits and vegetables that bring light to your cells, the healthy fats that feed your brain and soften your emotions. the danger hidden in sugar's sweetness, the ancient power of olive oil, and most importantly, the art of eating with awareness and peace. But this isn't just about food. It's about choosing softness over stress, presence over panic. It's about slowing down, not just to live longer, but to feel more alive while we're here. If there's one message I hope stays with you, it's this. Healing doesn't require a revolution, just a return to nature, a return to simplicity, a return to yourself. So today, maybe just choose one thing: a handful of berries, a slower meal, a drizzle of olive oil with your full attention. Let that small act be a quiet prayer to your future self. And if this video spoke to something in you, leave a comment and tell me, which of these healing foods will you bring into your life this week? Share this with someone who deserves to age with grace, not fear. And if you haven't already, subscribe. We're building a space here for gentle wisdom and long-lasting health. Because aging isn't the end, it's the deepening. And you're not alone on this journey.